You know, one of the lines that has become clear to me in Kendrick Lamar's performance last night is 40 acres and a mule. And that line is particularly potent for many Black Americans. And it happens to be a line that I remember from my education growing up in grade school in the Bronx. And I vaguely remember what it was about. It was something that was promised enslaved people. I can't remember whether I was told it was before or after emancipation, but it had to do with the Civil War. And I've since had my memory refreshed, and it was something that the federal government promised enslaved people that they would get, and it would help them get a head start. But as with many promises given to Native Americans, they didn't come through. And I never really equated 40 acres and a mule because it was not something that really ever touched my life. But in thinking about it this morning, I never really equated it with something else that was very important to American life, which was the Homestead Act. Now, if you don't recall the Homestead Act, for some reason, there's a lot of American history that was that really stayed with me. And the Homestead Act was an act that the federal government felt was extremely important because they wanted to populate the Midwestern part of our country, the prairie. And so they offered 160 acres free and clear to people who would farm the land, ranch the land. I guess it was really only good for farming, but they would give free and clear 160 acres to people, and they had mapped out a huge swath of prairie land. And it was white people who took that land, and that's how a lot of our Midwest cities came into being. And they didn't rescind that promise. They gave 160 acres to people free and clear. And all they had to do was stake it out. And this may be apocryphal, but I seem to remember in class hearing how there was a date and they had people lining up and they set off a bell and you could just go and stake out your plot of land and it was yours and you could farm it. And that was the beginning of generational wealth for a lot of white people. A lot of these people came from Germany and Middle European countries, and they got a stake in this country. And here we have enslaved people who were brought over against their will and finally released from bondage and promised for their servitude they would be given 40 acres and a mule, and a mule, and they got nothing. And they had to start from scratch. Just a thought. Think about that. Think about how you'd feel if that promise was made to you and then you were just blown off. Okay, that's it. See you next time.
I am so disappointed with our people. And it's not even that I'm an extra woke person, because I'm not extra woke. I'm just a little bit of woke. And it's not even that I'm a Kendrick Lamar fan, diehard fan, because I'm not. I just enjoy his music because his music gives me the ability to think. His music makes me have to be like, I wonder, it's like y'all don't like that. So mad I gotta go to work because there's so much to be said, but I'm gonna hurry up and try to squeeze it in. It's like y'all would have rather much seen Lil Wayne up there disrespecting women by his lyrics to his songs with his lean in his cup and his 3 dreads in his head. Kendrick Lamar literally, before he started, said y'all picked the right guy, but the wrong time. He literally got up there to represent us in so many different ways for Black History Month, and all y'all could say is that was whack, that sucked, that was the worst halftime show ever. What? Man, if you don't go rewatch that halftime at Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam, that was the obvious. He's older, he's our unc, And so that's Uncle Sam, basically dictating everything we do, watching over us, scrutinizing us, criticizing us, making sure that we play by their rules. And when he was sitting up watching them all outside and just lounging around like we do as black people, oh, y'all out here just being ghetto, being loud, scorekeeper, deduct one life, whatever that might mean. That could either mean getting killed by the police, that could also mean just going to jail. We don't know. That's just one of the main messages. The flag was obviously all black people. The blue obviously stood for Crips. The red obviously stood for Bloods. But eventually, the flag was divided, which is what we obviously as black people are. Y'all couldn't even respect a performance in Black History Month that was for us. And I swear, my mind goes so deep, I'm going to tell y'all, I don't even think Kendrick Lamar was performing They Not Like Us for Drake. Obviously, he was going to perform that song because that is the song that everybody wanted to hear. So he was going to do his job and perform the song. However, They Not Like Us. They're not like us. I don't believe that it was for Drake personally. I believe that Grin was him being on that huge stage amongst all the white people, amongst the presidential, the politics, the Uncle Sams. They Not Like Us. But that went over y'all head as well. Y'all thought this man was just up there to just disrespect Drake. Y'all paid attention to all of the negative things within the performance. Hence the reason why y'all didn't understand it and said it was whack. Then y'all have people showing the crowd like, look, no one's enjoying the halftime show. Half the people at the halftime show is not like us. Of course they're not going to enjoy it, you guys. It was for us to enjoy. But yet, y'all still failed. We failed because they gave Kendrick the opportunity to represent us and try to put a message out there for us. And the only thing y'all did was disrespect the man that was sent to do the job. Y'all can't stick together if your lives depended on it. That's embarrassing. Even if you didn't like it, you should act like you liked it.
You really about to do it? 40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music.
You really? It literally said, you really about to do it? 40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music. How did y'all miss that? That wasn't just to Drake, you guys. It was just... I know Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, all these people that just did so much to pave the way for us. They are so embarrassed of us. They're so embarrassed of us. I promise you, y'all missed it because y'all wanted to see entertainment. And I understand that a lot of y'all would rather be entertained than educated. Hence the reason he said, turn off the TV. Turn off the TV so that you can be in reality, so that you can learn and look and be aware of what's going on around y'all. But y'all don't care about that. As long as somebody's up there twerking, disrespecting women, talking about killing each other, that's all y'all care about. That's all y'all wanted to see. And because he did not give y'all that, y'all said it was whack, and it was like so brilliant. It was brilliant. Y'all wanted that performance to be solely about Drake so bad, talking about A minor, when that literally was the minorest part of the entire performance. That man was making a performance about the United States of America and where we play our part in it. And all y'all wanted to see and hear, and the only part that caught everybody's attention was A minor. Like, I don't get it. Y'all are so simple-minded, man. Not to mention, Uncle Sam had on red, white, and blue. And then the people that was on the stage dancing that put together the flag had on prison outfits. But instead of orange, they was red, white, and blue. I need us to find it in our hearts to stop disrespecting what Kendrick Lamar just did. Kendrick Lamar literally reeled the world in, knowing that y'all thought and wanted to see him disrespect Drake, but instead he brought a way bigger point. Can we please wake up today and go rewatch it so that we can gain and give this man the respect that he deserves? Because it's either you get it or you don't, and you don't even gotta get it. His performance was not for you to like, to bounce to. It wasn't entertainment. It wasn't sexy red. It wasn't, I got this drink in my cup. It wasn't none of that. It is Black History Month, man. Y'all have got to go back, watch it, and find it in y'all hearts to respect this black man who literally just played in these white people's face like this. I promise you, he ate with it real bad. Kendrick Lamar really dissed Drake in front of millions of people, in front of the whole world. No, Kendrick Lamar literally dissed the world in front of the world for us. It's like y'all be going so far out your way to try to embarrass your own kind and just try to belittle, down talk, disrespect your own kind. Y'all want to just make all these videos trying to show how silent it was and how whack this halftime show is. And it's like, it's sad, it's embarrassing, it's Black History Month, and you would have thought that even if we didn't care for it, that we would act like we cared in front of it because we in front of company. And then we would have just amongst ourselves, I don't know, man, Ken could have came along, but he came so hard. Man, if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, you don't. Some of y'all only know how to count to 10 by 1.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Africans. I hope where you are doing fine. And if you ain't doing fine, please do fine where you are. It's good to be fine. So on this special app, nowadays I find myself visiting TikTok a lot, since we have a lot of juices in TikTok. And today today in Africa and maybe some parts of yesterday while I was still sleeping, we've had these trending news at the Super Bowl, you know, our very own Kendrick, the person who sings, Kendrick Lamar, someone like that, yeah. He coined and he said something that really triggered my conscience. I was thinking of not doing this video, and you can see that it's somehow nighttime here. I was thinking of not doing this video, but I came to think, no, I have to share something with my Black community, because many times we speak about slavery, we speak about colonialism, we speak about the effect racism has had on the Black community as a result of slavery. You understand? So we do know that in the Americas, we had what we call the French Revolution. And also after the French Revolution, after slavery was abolished, there followed another revolution, which was the American Civil War. The northern side of America was fighting with the lower side of America in such a way that some slave owners from the north did not want to release their slaves, but the southerners wanted a freedom for all community of Black, white, everyone was to be free. Eventually, the civil war came to an end, and we saw that Black people made their demands, and one of the things they said that they wanted as members of the United States of the America, which was by then now a republic, which of course USA got independence in 1775 from the British. During the Civil War, it was close to 2 centuries ahead of that, not 2 centuries, but close to 1.5 centuries is now where we were having the French Revolution. And one of the things that the Black people demanded was to have an acre of land and a mule. A mule is a type of, it's like a donkey, it's like a horse. You can call it a donkey horse, is what we call a mule. You see, when a donkey and a horse come together, they produce a mule. So a mule was there to provide, a mule is what they demanded, and an acre and 40 acres of land, you know. So each Black person was to be given this. But this term has been used derogatorily by people for politics. It has been used to associate different kind of circumstances facing Black people, reparations. We think that these 40 acres of land and a mule might be a type of reparations, in terms that now we, instead of saying reparations, we say 40 acres and a mule as a symbol and as a sign of reparations. Now, Kendrick Lamar in his Super Bowl was there to remind the United States of the very own thing they promised the Black people when they said they'll be giving Black people a mule and 40 acres of land. This triggered the internet. It triggered the whole country of the United States of America. I want us to listen to why, like, so many white people have really not been impressed by this, but I believe many Black people have been impressed, since Black people are saying that Kendrick Lamar did it to remind the government of their promise to us. I don't know what you think. Let's listen to these gentlemen from the United States and ladies from the United States, and then I shall get back where I shall also share with you my thoughts by the end of the video. Let's dive in.
You know, there was something in 1865, particularly after there had been struggles. I think one of the Americans, very senior officials, I forget his name, said that when you free people, give them 40 acres and a mule so that they start from somewhere. It was thought that at that time, really, you must start. I've been working for you for all this while. You've freed me. I have a family. How am I going to survive? So give me something to start. And this is exactly what was said. Give them 40 acres and a mule. And of course, nobody got 40 acres and a mule, so that they found themselves in the wilderness, groping in the dark. You used to work, you used to wake up and work. And when you worked, you ate, and you had somewhere to sleep. Now you are free. But what kind of freedom is this? There is no work. There is nothing to eat. You are starting literally from...
Yep, without any questions, I already know that they're going to be teaching us in college about that Kendrick Lamar halftime Super Bowl performance, so I already did my dissertation, bitch. I already did the full thing. Let me tell you guys what I have uncovered about this insane fucking performance. So to lay the groundwork, this whole performance is Kendrick Lamar playing a video game. And right here we have the X, the square, the circle, and the triangle, which is the 4 buttons and a PlayStation control remote. And it starts off with him selecting the square. Then Uncle Sam tells everybody that this is the great American game. Obviously, Uncle Sam is a symbol of American power structure, and this is alluding to the fact that America is like a game, and some of us are winners and losers, some of us rig the system, some of us cheat, but at the end of the day, we're all in this American game, and Kendrick Lamar is trying to beat the game, trying to fight the system. Then inside of the square, Kendrick Lamar starts singing on top of this GNX car, which in the 1980s represented power and rebellion. Then out of the car that represents defiance comes out a whole bunch of people dressed in red, white, and blue. These people not only represent the American people, but it also represents different aspects of our society. The red could be the conservatives, the blue could be the liberal, and the white is the elite, wealthy individuals, because clothing, historically, white has been associated with rich people just because it's always cost more to maintain white clothing because it can get stained more and it just requires higher maintenance. There's only one time in the entire performance where Kendrick Lamar mentions the word government, and it was in his first song. And in that exact moment that he says government, a white dressed person shakes hand with a red dressed person, which symbolizes wealthy elites shaking hands and making deals with the conservative power structure in America. Corruption. Then he goes on to say that the revolution is about to be televised. Y'all chose the right place but the wrong guy, which basically means that the United States is long overdue for a revolution, that we deserve change, right? But we chose the wrong guy, meaning that the change and the person that is leading the change and the direction of that change is wrong. We need change, but not that kind of change. We need a revolution, just not that kind of revolution. And obviously, it's going to be televised because of the technology that exists currently. This is directly towards Donald Trump and Elon Musk. After mentioning that, he starts singing Squabble Up, which pretty much is a song about standing your ground and standing up and fighting back. Then Uncle Sam comes back to the picture, which, remember, he's the one that's controlling the game, says that Kendrick Lamar is playing the game too loud, that he is being too reckless, that he's being ghetto, that he needs to calm down. And this is something that the power structure in America has used historically to control marginalized voices and make society believe that these people shouldn't be heard because they're too reckless and they're too disruptive. I'm literally getting chills. Okay, so after Uncle Sam says that, Kendrick Lamar is now standing in between a split American flag, which pretty much says that that kind of rhetoric that Uncle Sam is spewing is divisive to the country. And he does this singing the song Humble, which is basically saying to the power structure in America to sit down and reflect on the division that they're causing in our country and to be more humble. Okay, so then now we're under a street light where he's speaking out against the system, right? And this symbolizes Americans going to the streets and voicing their concerns and their opinions. And Uncle Sam comes back and says, "Keeper, take a life."
Keeper, deduct one life.
That speaks for itself, right? You're trying to instill fear into people so they can stop speaking up by committing acts of violence against these marginalized groups that are voicing their concerns and speaking out against the system. But we officially left the square and now we're inside the X, where Kendrick Lamar starts to sing the song Peekaboo. Within video games, the X symbol on the PlayStation remote means to confirm something. So by singing the song Peekaboo inside the X, this basically means that Kendrick is choosing to reveal unhidden truths about people, about society, about our political structure that exists currently. And he uses this moment to tease They Not Like Us.
I want to perform their favorite song, but you know they love the soup. What song? Yeah, that song.
He teases it again. That is uncovering truths, right? That song was a diss track against Drake. But this is beyond just the Drake diss track. It goes to the larger message of uncovering deeper truths. Then we move on to the triangle. In a video game, the triangle is the direction you want to go. So, and in the triangle is SZA, who is singing the song Luther. I first gotta say she a bad bitch, but this song right here is about moving towards the direction of pursuing love and social change, and she's doing this within the triangle, which makes perfect sense. Now we have people marching down the street, which obviously represents peaceful protest, but they're also marching around the circle. The circle inside of a PlayStation remote represents rejection or cancellation. Inside the circle, Kendrick starts singing the song All the Stars, where he talks about how confrontation ain't something new to him and how he will always fight back even though people try to attack him. This is done within the circle, which is, again, rejection. He is rejecting people trying to diminish him. He is rejecting people trying to shut him up. He is fighting back. But this is a soft song. He's not yelling, he's not being aggressive, he's not speaking loud. It is a soft-spoken song. In many ways, you can say that this song is like a peaceful protest because it's so soft. And then Uncle Sam is so happy because they're being so calm, they're being so soft, even though they're talking about these really important issues that are degrading them and diminishing them. They're doing it peacefully, they're doing it softly. So Uncle Sam is happy. He's saying how he's glad that they're calm. But then he gets mad because Kendrick then changes his tone and loudly stated how you can try to rig the system, but you can't fake influence, which basically means that no matter how many times wealthy people have tried to rig the system in their favor, they could never truly win real loyalty and real support. And now you can see that there are people occupying each symbol of the game, the circle, the triangle, the X, and the square. Which basically means that in order to beat the game, we all need to occupy these spaces.
Try to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
So what's Kendrick saying in all this? His performance uses his platform to tell a story about the American culture, and more specifically politics right now, and what we can do to get ourselves out of this hole that we've dug. Kendrick opens his performance on the cheat code for body armor on the PlayStation version of GTA 5. Shortly after that, Samuel L. Jackson comes out dressed as Uncle Sam to say welcome to the great American game. First song that Kendrick plays in this performance is Body, which is a teaser for GNX, his most recent album, and he ends that teaser with
The revolution about to be televised. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy.
What Kendrick is saying is that it's the right time to fight back against the powerful and the rich, but you chose a rich man to lead us. He's talking about how bad of a president Donald Trump is for this moment in time. Then straight into Squabble Up, saying that this is going to be a fight. We have to fight for what we believe in. Uncle Sam then comes back and calls Kendrick, Ghetto! Like, hey Kendrick, you're one of us. You're rich too. You should not be trying to help these people. Kendrick then plays Humble, which is one of his loudest songs. Like, no, this is me being humble. Further backed up by DNA because DNA is again like, this is in my blood, this is who I'm supposed to be. He interrupts DNA with Euphoria because he has a revelation. Then Kendrick starts playing Man at the Garden. He's like, wait, no, I deserve it all. This song is about self-worth and how we should all have self-worth. We should all strive to be the man at the garden, but we cannot all be the man at the garden.
Why you think you deserve the greatest award?
Kendrick performs this with his homies, and Uncle Sam comes out critiquing him on it, saying, ah, you son of a bitch, you brought the culture into this. I'm gonna kill one of them now.
Deduct one life.
Kendrick is fighting a war directly with the establishment, Uncle Sam of America. Peekaboo is where he's fighting back, and then he thinks, okay, what else do we need to do? And he slows it down, seeming like, oh, he's let the establishment win with his slower songs with SZA. Uncle Sam comes out and thanks him.
What America wants, nice.
So then he plays Not Like Us, because they are not like us, and he's talking about the rich, he's talking about Drake, obviously. He's talking about all these other stuff that's going on around him, but he's talking about the people that have rigged the game against us.
Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Then Kendrick offers a solution, and that solution is turn this TV off and march in the streets. This whole performance, in the background, Kendrick has the American flag marching in the streets. America needs to march. As well as 1,000,001 other ways to read this, Kendrick is saying that it's a good time to fight back. And it's going to be tough, but we need to get out there. We need to put the distraction down.
He said, I'm your Uncle Sam, welcome to the great American game. Then Kendrick pops out and he says the revolution will in fact be televised. You picked the right time but the wrong guy. And then goes immediately into squabble up. Then Uncle Sam comes back and he's like, no, 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 too loud, too much, too rambunctious, you're not being acceptable enough. Samuel L. Jackson says tighten up, and it goes to like a formation of them in the colors of the flag in the flag formation. Tighten up immediately to the American flag, because that's what America wants in the great American game, right? And then it divides, and Kendrick is in the middle, divided flag, and then it's going down the steps with be humble, like sit down, be humble, and then the flag is like on the field, and then like gunshots sound, and it like rips apart, and people start, it's crazy, it's crazy. And then SZA comes out, and then things are like a little bit more tame and relaxed. I love SZA so much. She looked and sounded incredible. There was one riff, where everyone in the room was like, oh, and then Samuel L. Jackson comes back and he's like, much better, much more acceptable, don't screw it up. And before that, Kendrick had teased Not Like Us, and then he was like, but you know how they like to sue. But then as he's like, don't mess it up, you're literally almost at the end, then he starts Not Like Us. Then we get the Say Drake and all the A minors, and that's funny because like they cut the audience sound back in for that in the broadcast. And then Serena Williams comes out, which is funny because her and Drake used to date in the day, and then they broke up, and apparently I think he dissed her and her husband, which is crazy. But also then she's crip walking, and this might be too much of a reach, like this definitely could be too much of a reach, but Crips used to use like crip walking to kind of like communicate to the other ones what the next like hit target would be when they started getting infiltrated like with wires and everything like that. So not only was she like, this is the side that I'm on, and also F you Drake, but literally like dancing on his grave. Like that's what that was to me. And then it ends with TV off, which makes so much sense. And like the click sound effect at the end, love that. And then it goes up and it just says game over. That's it. And he brought up 40 Acres and a Mule, and then he said this is much bigger than music. He's so incredible. If I wanted to have anybody perform in front of that god-awful ugly orange man, it would be Kendrick. It would be Kendrick because he does things like this. Oh my god, I love him, and I love SZA, and all of the dancers loved them. I usually like the Super Bowl dancers, but they were incredible. He was incredible as always, making such strong. He said, I'm your Uncle Sam, welcome to the great American game. Then Kendrick pops out and he says the revolution will in fact be televised. You picked the right time but the wrong guy. And then goes immediately into squabble up. Then Uncle Sam comes back and he's like, no, 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 too loud, too much, too rambunctious, you're not being acceptable enough. Samuel L. Jackson says tighten up, and it goes to like a formation of them in the colors of the flag in the flag formation. Tighten up immediately to the American flag, because that's what America wants in the great American game, right? And then it divides, and Kendrick is in the middle, divided flag, and then it's going down the steps with be humble, like sit down, be humble, and then the flag is like on the field, and then like gunshots sound, and it like rips apart, and people start, it's crazy, it's crazy. And then SZA comes out, and then things are like a little bit more tame and relaxed. I love SZA so much. She looked and sounded incredible. There was one riff, where everyone in the room was like, oh, and then Samuel L. Jackson comes back and he's like, much better, much more acceptable, don't screw it up. And before that, Kendrick had teased Not Like Us, and then he was like, but you know how they like to sue. But then as he's like, don't mess it up, you're literally almost at the end, then he starts Not Like Us. Then we get the Say Drake and all the A minors, and that's funny because like they cut the audience sound back in for that in the broadcast. And then Serena Williams comes out, which is funny because her and Drake used to date in the day, and then they broke up, and apparently I think he dissed her and her husband, which is crazy. But also then she's crip walking, and this might be too much of a reach, like this definitely could be too much of a reach, but Crips used to use like crip walking to kind of like communicate to the other ones what the next like hit target would be when they started getting infiltrated like with wires and everything like that. So not only was she like, this is the side that I'm on, and also F you Drake, but literally like dancing on his grave. Like that's what that was to me. And then it ends with TV off, which makes so much sense. And then like the click sound effect at the end, love that. And then it goes up and it just says game over. That's it. And he brought up 40 Acres and a Mule, and then he said this is much bigger than music. He's so incredible. If I wanted to have anybody perform in front of that god-awful, ugly orange man, it would be Kendrick. It would be Kendrick because he does things like this. Oh my god, I love him. And I love SZA. And all of the dancers, loved them. I usually like the Super Bowl dancers, but they were incredible. He was incredible as always, making such strong comments as always. He said, wake up, get up, get up. Anyway.
People keep saying this 40 Acres and a Mule thing was about broken promises to Black people. And yeah, but can we finally just also call it what it was? It was theft. I am loving all of the analysis of Kendrick Lamar's brilliant Super Bowl performance, and I cannot claim to know nearly enough to explain all of the nuance there. But the one thing I have kind of been picking up on is that we keep when he says 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. I keep hearing people talking about this historically like this was some altruistic thing after the Civil War that the government just didn't follow through on. And we talk about Black people this way all the time. Like, oh my God, we've got to, have welfare. We've got to have these handouts for equity and fairness and to make up for historical disadvantages and all of that. But the reason Black Americans have historically been poor and been disenfranchised is because we keep stealing their stuff. We started with stealing their labor. That built so much of the wealth in this country. And then after, there's like this tiny little pittance of, hey, maybe you should get some back pay from the estates of the people that were stealing from you, among other things. And then we kind of went, nah. So especially when we have Kendrick Lamar calling out things like he owns his music because he made it by himself, that's his. I think we can stand to kind of look a little bit more and go, hey, America's also theirs. It is the Black story. It is Black people building and working and white people trying to take it and successfully taking it a lot of the time. Especially with all this talk about DEI and, oh, it's undeserved, it's a handout, you're not choosing the best people. That's just such bullshit. Nothing we have talked about doing in the name of equity is some unfair gift because we feel bad. It's just paying back what's stolen.
The revolution about to be televised. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy.
Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game?
Nobody pray for me. It been a day for me. Well, yeah. Hey, sit down. Sit down. Be humble. Sit down. Be humble. Sit down. Burn this thing.
Wake up. That halftime performance was a message. He did that for us. Now, some of y'all missed the message because y'all was too busy talking about Drake, okay? Listen, when he said the culture was being divided, 40 acres and a mule, do y'all understand that that was a promise that was never fulfilled? When he said they rigged the game, but you can't fake influence, when that man said the revolution is being televised, when he had the U.S. flag full of Black and brown people, and then it divided, when that man said it is bigger than music, he also told y'all to turn the televisions off, and y'all didn't understand. Y'all kept watching. Listen, Kendrick understood the assignment, and he said, right time, wrong guy. They not like us. Listen, I need my people to get it together because y'all missed it. Y'all missed it.
The reason a lot of people didn't like Kendrick Lamar's halftime show, not me and mine, a lot of other people, was because you were watching and not listening. Was because you were expecting a circus, not a lesson. Was because some of the symbolism and some of the lyrics, A, completely went over your head, or B, made you a little uncomfy. 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. Do you even know what that means? Do you even know what that means? Okay? An American flag made out of all black dancers, and you want to say it's the worst halftime show ever? What? And you guys were probably pissed that they took the words right out of your mouth. Too ghetto. Because we know that's what y'all wish you could say. We know that's what you were saying at home. And you're mad about it. You got called out when you were expecting to get entertained. And that's not what that show was about. The revolution is about to be televised. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy. You guys missed the entire lesson. That's because it wasn't for you. Everything about that show and the symbolism in that show was amazing. And the fact that it made so many of other people mad is what makes it so good.
Let's break down the Kendrick Lamar performance. When he said 40 acres and a mule, he was making a historical reference to 1865, where a promise was made to formerly enslaved African Americans to grant them 40 acres of land, and some families were also going to receive a mule. The idea behind this was to provide means for black families to support themselves after they were freed from slavery, because they had no land, resources, or wealth of their own. However, this promise was never fulfilled because after President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson took office, and instead of fulfilling the promise and giving the land to former slaves, he restored the land to former Confederate owners, which left freed African Americans without resources and dependent on the system that had enslaved them, including sharecropping, which kept them in poverty and debt. Those of you who are saying that Kendrick Lamar's performance sucked did not understand it, because this wasn't about the performance, it was about the message. There was so much political art, symbolism, and even historical references like the 40 acres and a mule, which represents a broken promise to black Americans of compensation and reparations for the injustices of slavery, systematic racism, and the economic inequality that still exists today. This is why black history is so important. And mind you, in this video, I only broke down 5 words from the entire performance. There was so much more, but I digress. Let me know if you guys want me to break down more of the...
If you're black, you've probably heard of 40 acres and a mule, the idea that black people following the end of the Civil War were supposed to be given land as reparations, and you probably have just thought of this as a vague promise or a metaphor. But what you might not know is that some black people were actually given land, that we have the documents to prove that people were given reparations and had it taken back exactly 6 months later. Let's talk about it. I recently listened to the podcast 40 Acres and a Lie by Reveal, which was made after old Freedmen's Bureau documents were unearthed showing the physical deeds of 1,250 black people formerly enslaved who were given land only to have it taken back 6 months later. If you don't know what the Freedmen's Bureau was, it was a department of government established at the end of the Civil War with the intended goal of helping making formerly enslaved people self-sufficient. This included a lot of things like setting up refugee camps, legalizing marriages between enslaved people, connecting families who had been sold to different plantations, trying to connect people to work, and the management of land seized during the Civil War. Union General Sherman, known for General Sherman's March, where he went from Atlanta to Savannah, absolutely destroying the Confederate Army, was also picking up formerly enslaved people along the way. And while on this march, he personally made the promise that he would take that land and give it back to the enslaved people. What this ended up leading to was a land buyback policy for formerly enslaved people. What this meant is that the federal government would take land seized during the Civil War, give it to formerly enslaved people, and give them 3 years to make enough profit on that land to buy it back from the government. We now have the federal documents, the physical deeds given to formerly enslaved people on places like Skidaway Island in Georgia or Edisto in South Carolina. Then there came questions of legality. What right did the federal government have over land seized during the Civil War? And Andrew Johnson, vice president to Lincoln and the man who became president after Lincoln's assassination had a lot more empathy for the defectors of the South and a lot more desire to just sort of get this over with and connect the nation. Which meant that 6 months into this program, 6 months into real reparation, the land was returned to its former owners, and the Freedmen's Bureau instead decided to focus on negotiating contracts where the enslaved people would work for the people who enslaved them instead of having their own land. I personally really enjoyed the podcast in the way that you enjoy something ultimately devastating but informative. They talked to the descendants of the people who had gotten the deeds. They talked to the descendants of the people who were slave owners. It's a very interesting podcast. But I make this video to say to my people that 40 acres and a mule isn't just some myth or some vague promise. Reparations were real for a very short period of time, and they took them back. It was possible. So know that it just simply wasn't.
So after clearly watching this video, here's my verdict I can lay. You see, any kind of wrong should be met by justice. Any kind of injustice should be met by the hands of law. Let me put it that way. So say someone steals something from you, right? It is the law which should put on a restorative correctional order for there to be justice, whereby we can demand these people to return their stolen goods back to the people they stole it from, you know. For Kendrick Lamar in the Super Bowl, it's very symbolic, and myself as a Christian, I have two sides to this. I might think that in some instance he was being a kind of demonic, you know, those symbols, because demonology involves a lot of symbols, triangles, stars, and circles. Yeah, a lot of symbols are used in this demonology, and it's no news. America is full of these, the worship of Satan, right? Yeah, it's there. The people who call themselves the enlightened ones do this in public, you know. But another side I can look at it is that Kendrick Lamar is speaking. He's using his position as a musician and as someone who is of interest to the United States of America, a celebrity, to speak for the oppressed community. He's here speaking for the United States of America, black people. He's speaking also for the Afro-Caribbeans, and also speaking for the Africans who left Africa, or maybe who are planning to leave Africa to go to the United States of America and live or maybe work. We know very well the situations that are happening over there. We cannot say that 40 acres and the land is enough for wiping all the atrocities. We cannot say that. We've had many people. We've had Malcolm X, we've had Luther King, we've had Booker T. Washington. So many of them have come. Kendrick Lamar cannot be better than them, and they cannot be better than Kendrick Lamar. Everyone is using his position, time, and space to do the right thing, and they are doing the right thing for their own people. You know, America is a country which has been broken. America is a country which is not built for the black people. It was built by the black people. So Kendrick Lamar's position in the Super Bowl, a place that we get a lot of gathering of white people, is a reminder. Also right now, when we have Trump and his deportation laws, we have Elon Musk, who is really pinning decisions to the government and in favor of the white majority. You know, whites are the majority in the US, and Elon Musk is really fighting the agenda of displacing the immigrants, particularly the black immigrants. And we also have the Latinos, we also have the people from Venezuela, we have the Indians and all that. So Kendrick Lamar's voice is not only a voice again for the black people, it is a voice for those people who are immigrants, you know. 40 acres and a mule is one thing which made me create this video. It's something I've always known. I was just reminded again by this very concept. Slavery is not a thing, and slavery cannot be wiped away by just that simple concept. And remember, this term is just a term used to ensure that there is peace, to ensure that there is reparations, to ensure that someone who did wrong is told you did wrong, and he must find a restorative correction. He must be forced to restore what he took. He must be forced to return back the things he took away from the black people and the Africans. So much that such things are always bringing black people together. We see a lot of white people coming in speaking for the black people. Thank you to Mr. Kendrick Lamar for reminding us about the 40 acres of land and the mule, and also about Uncle Sam. We all know who Uncle Sam is. That is just another video. Yeah. Thanks for watching. This is EFK Original Documentaries. If you like what I do, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel. I shall surely appreciate, and see you in the next one.